Welcome back to Factorio Masterclass. My name is Nilaus and we're here with our Space Age Masterclass series, and we are on FULGORA. There are a number of things we want to do on FULGORA. This is where we left off at the last episode, where we just have our hub build, our landing pad, our power, our electrical storm protection, and we got a little bit of holmium. So there's logically next to two steps is doing all the holmium process. We've left some room for this to get a nice little starter base for this, but that's not actually what we want to do. Today we want to do a deep dive into recycling, because that is a core part of getting your base to work on FULGORA, and it's something that I've almost only seen bad examples of it, which is kind of a shame, because you can do some pretty cool and clever things with this. So let's talk a bit about it. Like we're going to be doing this with some belts here. We'll just start it from over here and then get that one. So we're going to be starting just looking at just the very basic stuff here, and we're going to get a power. These are just so we don't have to worry about like this one for starters. All right, we are going to start by getting it in here, and that will be some scrap, and we'll get some more scrap in here, and we'll put it into that one. So what happens now is that it goes into scrap, and the scrap recycling turns it into 12 different products. However, if you refeed these products, then for example the batteries turn into iron and copper plates, the red circuits turn into green circuits, and wire and plastic. And so what if you take all these things and refeed them back into itself, then there are actually 18 products that you have to deal with. So we need to know that we have 18 different products. It's these ones here. And then it's iron plates and copper plates. It's from the concrete we actually get stone bricks, and then we get iron ore, which sucks to get. Then we have green circuits as well, is another thing that we have to deal with as well, and we get plastic as well. So those are the extra things that we have to deal with in aside from this. The issue we will often get, well, here we're already seeing it, we are simply filling up, and at some point it'll get stuck because one of these stacks here is, this one has 12 and there can only be 12. So right now this works. However, it if we then feed it out here, and then we just go back in and feed it back into this one, and then say we get in priority from up there. Oh, it'll keep working on this. Right. We'll just make it a little bit bigger so that things get a little bit more visual on what is happening. I'll just mirror it as well here, and that will be flipping it like this, like that. So now this is outputting things, and you could even do something like this so that it outputs on different sides of the belt. There. Right. Basically what is happening now is that we are going to start seeing it, hopefully maybe probably pick up something else. Yes, so now it's picking up other stuff, and that goes in. So there are many things that could go wrong with this. First of all, you can already see now that even if we design it to handle the scrap only, then what are we going to do with all the rest of the crap? Recycling it, obviously not. Storing it, yes. Storing it with robots, not a great idea. You really want to make sure that you have a way to store this part. So what we first want to do is maybe just take this a little bit out. We basically want to not bring this back right now, but actually start by saying, okay, what we have is going to be useful, right? That's going to be, we're recycling because we want this product, not because we want to destroy it into something else. So this is how we get resources on FULGORA, is that we make some recycling here. So that's, so far so good. What I want to do is I want to get something in here, and I also want to make, and this one I want it to be made like that. Yeah. And that should be a beacon. Like that. And this makes these go a lot faster. So I like this. I like this idea here, and then I can sort of repeat it by doing that. And then we can get more, and that gets it super quick. So here's the thing. You really have a big choice. You either use speed modules, and then you only get common products, or you scrap these, and then you use quality. So this is a great way to make quality things already. You can do quality mining. You put in quality modules in miners, so you get quality scrap in, and then you take the quality scrap and turn it into even higher quality products, and then you have to manage that. However, I have decided that for my first iteration of FULGORA, I am completely ignoring the quality aspect. So we're only dealing with normal quality, and that's just a thing. The reason why is because I want to get it going so that it works, and then I will be making quality a little bit later. When I played it the first time through, I was really keen on quality because it's new and exciting. Now I know where it's useful and where it's not useful, so we're going to be doing this first iteration without quality. Good. So we're going to go into the next block, because that will be a storage block. Basically, this one will be going in, and then it will be something like this, and then we'll get that into the next area here. Good. This of course will be bigger and better and all that stuff, and we can clean that out. So we need to look at what would a good process for storage be. Well, I want it to be really compact because we have 18 different products, and I want it to fit into my new city blocks. So it has to be compact. The thing that I want to do is I want to say, okay, first of all, we just balance these two out so that we're good. Well, actually, I don't think I need that, because they're going to be balanced out when they come in. So we'll just leave it like this and say, all right, the product of the scrap that we have the most of is going to be iron gears. And I think I might be at fault for having the ratio of iron gears to be too high, because I was pushing for this to be a high number when I was at the event, and it used to be 12, and now it's 20. And 20 is too much, but 12 was not enough for when what I was doing. So yeah, you can blame me for that being 20%, and it should have been 12%. Should have stayed at 12%. So this is why developers should not listen to content creators, because they don't know shit, and developers know best. Yes. So yeah, so this is about as compact as I can make it. Then I am going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because the only thing that will be on here will be these. And I want to put that into this. And of course, filter it. And here, for me, it's very important to use the yellow boxes and not the red boxes, because the yellow boxes, if we then get somewhere from somewhere else, they'll come back and fill these boxes up. And I think that's useful. Right, so what happens now is that this will flow through, it'll go up here, it'll be picked up, and when all of these are full or almost full, then they'll start to flow through. This means that I want to make sure that it cannot jam. This is the most important thing about this, is that it will not be allowed to jam in any way. So I'm going to be bringing it back here. And then I'm going to be forcing it in before anything else on this line here. Then I'm going to say, you will always prioritize the recycled stuff first, because it only recycles once I have filled up these boxes. Do you need 3 boxes or 6 boxes of gears? No, probably not. But I just find that that's a nice number to get. So with I'll just take these two out, and then I'll take this one, because that could be, then we can flip it, and I can put it like that. And then we have to look again at the recycling process here, and say, what is the second most highest one? And that is the solid fuel. So this next one will be solid fuel. Here. And then we get all of this to be also turned into solid fuel. And this one will again also be going back. Oops, there. And feeding in at a priority there. All right, so that is a start. Let me start by building this thing here. We now have this pattern here. It's quite repeatable, this one. And then we can build it, see, we can't build it right next to it, but we can build it right there. And there. Oops. And there. And there. And there. And there. So this is now ready to be hooked up, and we just started by doing this one. There was a little bit of a copy-paste error that I've fixed, and then you can see things are going in here, and you can see that nothing really flows through. What you also can see is that the robots are super happy to finally get some products to go into our hub, which is exactly what we want. So this is also how we get resources to actually fuel the hub. And it just flows in, and we just see that it goes all the way through. You can see that stuff like copper plates, iron plates, plastic, and stone bricks, they don't appear, and green circuits either, because they are only happening once things have been reprocessed once. Now this is obviously going to be an issue, because you really want some iron plates, and you want some copper plates, and you want some green circuits earlier than just waiting for everything to be fully stacked. So what you can do is say, okay, well, if I want some green circuits, maybe you can just disable some of these for a bit, and then just have it like some of it, the blue circuits being picked up, but some blue circuits also being sort of emptied. And then you can just, and this is basically on the startup phase. So how much effort do you want to put into the startup phase versus how much effort do you want to put into sort of the stable situation. And I'm designing it for a stable situation, and I don't want to ruin this blueprint, but we'll just let it go. Let it be open. But that's how you want to do it in the beginning, so that you can actually get something back and get that. So that means this part here, this is a storage. It's I'm really happy with it. Let's take a look again back at this processing here, because that can also, now we know exactly what it should be doing. It should be getting this prioritized inbound, and then it needs to go. So we can actually move this out here quite a lot closer. It could actually be right there. And it doesn't need to have this one, so we can actually get the whole thing like this out here. That's gonna get us even better, and then we can take all this, and then you see, just get a sense of how big this can actually become. And that will be, oh, this is not really great. This will be like that. Okay, so this is gonna be our template. And I've now cheated myself by doing that. That's not how I wanted to do it. I want to make sure that we actually have power in here, so we'll do that. There, and that's gonna be here. And that is exactly enough to get over there. And then we get some lights on the inside. Good. I don't know, I really want it to be out here, which would mean the whole thing would move one in. Let's see if that's going to be a problem. This is going to go, this is actually really neat, I think. Oh, no, this is not at all neat. It has to be like this. There. So now we come to a little aesthetic consideration. If I do that here, then I have room for that one here and that one here, which is not really necessary. But then it gets a little closer here. That's also fine. And the return product is here, and the return product is here. Great. Now you can see that these are not working for two reasons. They are simply not, the scrap is not moving fast enough down here, because with all the modules we have, they are actually getting processed pretty quickly. The second part is that they can't output. So I'm going to say, how many do I have? I have 16. So after 8, that's here, I will be... flip and flip. That's going to make it look nicer. There, symmetric. And after the first 8, that's here. Then I'm going to go up and get those on the outside line. I'm going to do the same thing here. And that one. So now that means 8 goes on the one line, 8 goes on the other line. We now have full belts coming out here. That's going to be filtered. We can see that it goes in much, much quicker. At this point, this is actually working just fine, and we can let it run for quite a while, and then we'll see some issues maybe. But I could also just move the whole thing so that we have, this is obviously, for me at least, obviously room for 2 of these builds. So I'm going to be actually doing that right now and moving it down, and then say, okay, how close do we want it? We want it to be there. And the other one. This is why we work in creative mode for this. And now comes the crazy part. I'm gonna flip it for the top one so that they are mirrored. They are not identical. And that will be just measuring, yes. And here I will flip it along the horizontal. Or along the horizontal. I'll flip it there and there. So we now let this one run for a little bit so that it starts filling up. That might take a little bit of time. Now for the sake of our experiment here, I've just set these boxes so I only have one box that's full and the other boxes are empty, because that means that we start getting an overflow. And I've let it run until this one is overflowing and this one's overflowing. So now we are getting blue circuits reprocessed. And now we start seeing some of the quirks that you will encounter as well when you recycle a blue circuit. So let's figure out, here's a blue circuit, there's a blue circuit. If we do the recycling processing here, then for one of these we get 5 plus 0.5 advanced circuit. That means 1 in and 6 out. That means that when we actually get here, there's a chance that it'll simply be too crowded when we start processing blue circuits. And we are also now seeing, let's look at these belts here, these return belts. It's gears, it's a lot of gears, and it's stone, and it's concrete. Like, it's a majority of things that it's just complete junk that now goes in, and then it takes the priority away from the scrap. And that means the scrap, if we look at it sort of on a line here, and once it stalls, then you can see that we're no longer using it, or it's no longer being produced or being consumed in the ratio that we would like to consume it at, because of course the stuff that comes back must be first priority, otherwise it's junk, or otherwise it jams. So what are we going to do? Well, I don't know why I keep dropping this. There are a number of things we can do, and they are making a huge difference. This is very deliberate that I have mirrored this and not made it upside down. So, because up here we'll have the same issue. We'll see that it's mainly solid fuel and ice that gets recycled, because they're the most abundant products. They're also the products that we really don't need for much. So, what if we could do something that makes some of it go away? Like, let's come up with a good idea here. And that one, let's do it here. So, there are actually options. Because what if all the concrete that flows through, what if we make it into hazard concrete? We just make it into hazard concrete and put it back. Hazard concrete and put it back. So what does that do? Not really anything, is it? It's not really doing anything. It's just taking this in. But the thing is, if we look at hazard concrete recycles into 0.1 concrete. So we actually, instead of recycling it back into to stone bricks, we can actually, and then the stone bricks goes around and it becomes iron ore and that kind of thing. Then we can just basically keep it as concrete. So by taking this, making it a hazard concrete, then it recycles back to concrete. That means this is basically just getting rid of a lot of stuff, and I think that's a great idea. But you really shouldn't be running this unless you're also full on stone bricks, because we do need a little bit of stone bricks, and this one could be an issue. So this is maybe not the best example of it, but there are certainly other examples that we could do. Like, let's see, we're probably also going to start seeing some steel coming back, or maybe not, because steel is still being consumed for... Yeah, steel is probably still being consumed. Yeah, we can see that everything is being picked up for steel, but steel will also be one of the products that will be recycled a lot. So when we get too much steel, there's a way to solve that as well. Here's another thing. Stone is one of the things that we can absolutely get rid of in the most beautiful way possible. Here, there we go. Landfill. Landfill recycles into stone. 25% landfill. No, it recycles into landfill. Okay, so basically that just means that landfill goes in and then it becomes back to landfill, and it'll just pass through and go in. But the beautiful thing about this is that it takes 50 stone and turns it into 1 landfill. So we can just do this, and then that means we should not get stone moving past here. There might be a little bit that goes past, but not so much. Can I just do these so that they're a little bit spaced out here? So there's time to grab this. And we should see here that the stone really shouldn't be moving past. So this, all of this is about saying, instead of 50 stone coming through, then it's going to be one landfill going through. That means it blocks less of the flow on this belt. So this is what we're doing now. We're just basically minimizing this amount of junk flow that goes in that just needs to be deleted, because this is what it's deleted. I should also this time mention that some people will, and I'm going to say it bluntly, erroneously, assume that it's better to have one place for processing only the scrap, and then another thing to process the residuals of the scrap. That is not correct. The reason why is, yes, you can get an awesome supply of you can balance it perfectly for consuming 2 full lines of scrap. That's excellent, but you need to overscale everything else if you have them dedicated. And that's just not, that means that you need way more space and way more assemblers to do this. And yes, I know that these ones switch recipes once in a while, but that's not really a big issue. It is an issue when it comes to scrap, when we get to the scrap recycling. And wherever are you at, you scrap recycler? There is a scrap recycling somewhere here. Search scrap recycling, that one here. So this one, the purple productivity bar will reset. So what I do is I get this one up to 100% or 200% or 300%, and I don't really stop in between, because if I do that, if it's at 100%, then the purple bar will follow this bar. If it is 200%, it'll be twice as fast as the green bar, and so on. But that's how I alleviate it. So the resetting doesn't really matter that much. And I find this to be very useful, especially as we do this kind of thing up here, where we are reprocessing things. So this one, for example, if we get the steel, there is a really, really good recipe for steel, because a steel chest recycles into 2 steel plates. So basically what we do here is we take 8 steel plates, turn it into... we should have 2 of these. Take 8 steel plates and turn it into a steel box. That means it's a reduction from 8 to 1 on the belt, and that gets reprocessed and becomes 2 steel instead. So this is a very efficient way. There is one that's the most important one. Well, let's do that at the end. We also have out here, this is a different way we can do it. I put these balancer in just so that everyone's happy that I have a balancer. I mean, I'm happy that I have a balancer. This one, let's do process there, and that one, and that one. Yeah, so looks nice. And this is going to be a filter that only takes ice. Yeah, because now if I take ice in here, we are not really leaking ice anywhere else. And once ice has been filled up the boxes, we don't really need it anymore. So just grab it and destroy it. Here, there we go. Destroy it, destroy it, destroy. It just gets destroyed. 1/4 of it goes out to the other one, and that quarter goes back again. So this is a really robust build. And we can do the same thing over here, I guess. But then take something else. We can then take it for that one. And that's going to be exactly the same. And now look at this belt. There is barely anything coming through now. Now it's only the LDS, and LDS is something that is very valuable to recycle, because LDS recycles back into plastic. And this is the only way, only 2 ways we can get plastic in easily on this planet, by destroying red circuits and destroying LDS. Then we can get plastic. So we definitely want that to flow on. This belt still has issues, and the issue we have, oh, you can see the concrete is flowing through. So the concrete will go in and then be reprocessed and then become out as normal concrete. The big one is the gears. So how are we going to deal with the gears? Well, there is a really cool way to deal with the gears that I am super happy that I've come up with here. And that one. So if I now only take gears inbound, that one, We want the full lane. There. Okay, then let's build it like that. So, what is that output? That's outputting as iron plates. That's fine. What can we do to consume iron plates as fast as possible? Iron chests. Because the iron chest is processing pretty damn fast. And the best thing about the iron chests, if we recycle it, it just becomes iron plates. So now we suddenly have a really efficient way of converting myriads of gears into something that is much less. Sweet. And, you know, there could also be iron plates here. So we'll also get that one in, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, this is not even fast enough, so I'm going to do this. There. All right. And also on this side. There we go. So this thing here, you can see now how little we actually get on this belt. We now get some boxes. And if we just go over here now, how much we've reduced it. It was almost a full belt coming through. And now we're the most stuff we have is the hazard concrete, but the hazard concrete is just there to be turned into normal concrete. We're barely getting anything. Like, there's no iron, there's no gears, there's no no stone or anything. And likewise, on this side, we'll have to do this design here. Flip it and build it exactly like it down here. Smash. And we'll now see this is basically empty. So now we can see this belt will be running almost at full speed, which is exactly what we want. We want this one to be running as close to full speed as possible. Of course, when things get stacked and all that stuff, it'll be different. But we can now see how much of a massive improvement to the recirculation we got by eliminating pretty much all of the recycled stuff here. If you see the belt coming back here, how full this belt is compared to how empty the belt is over here. This is amazing. And it makes it flow so much better. This one is not flowing. That's because, there we go. Well, that was silly. Yeah, so this is our setup for processing. And it's process, like these belts, they're not exactly running at 60 plus 60, but it's close, maybe like 55 or 50 per second for each of these. And it'll certainly be a lot to get inbound. So how do we get all this inbound? That's of course going to be the next thing, because I might as well go into a little bit into the trains, because now we have done this one. This is working perfectly, and it's just going to be chugging along, and it will not jam, and it will make sure that we store boxes of everything here. I have one little addition here, and that is the fact that if I fill up with holmium ore, then the last one is just going to put them into an ectoprider, because I never want to recycle holmium. I can actually just do like this. I think that's actually even better, because I don't want to ever recycle holmium. Holmium is the most precious resource on this planet, and it's the whole reason why we're here. So if holmium is not stored, then there's no point in doing all of this. So it might not even be in the beginning feel like it, but that's how it is. Holmium is the only reason why we're here. So that's great. What you could also do, if you want to, you can put in some extra roboports in here, because it is actually quite intense, and therefore that might be needed. But let's move on to the trains. So for the trains, we have a number of different ways that we can do this. Let's start by making these stupid, way too big curves. And this one's going to go probably here. That's going to be in the middle. Yes, looks about right. And the station, I want to keep it so that it doesn't intersect with these parts here. Well, we're going to get a station. I'm actually going to be building here, and then we are going to get, let's mark this here, 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 and here. Those are the locations, and we're just going to make like a really exceptionally standardized station here. There, and the important part of this is actually the throughput. So let's see, what is the maximum throughput we can do, just with reason. It is like this. This one needs to be powered like that, and here, 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 and it There's a slight benefit from inserting them into a splitter, but that has been diminished quite significantly as part of a Space Age for some reason, which I think it's totally fine. There, that's going to be fine. I'll take this one and then do it down here. These will be flipping, and then they'll be going up to that one, and there we go. So that is going to be the model we're looking for, and then get a light. Oops, not that many lights there. Good. There. And we're going to be doing 1-4 trains, because 1-4 trains seem pretty good. There we go. And then we just get a balancer. We use the normal 4x4 balancer, and I want to make it in the middle. That's going to be like this. And this is a train station. So how does it merge into a network? That's going to be the bigger issue. And let's start by going out here and just kind of looking at the network. So now this is rotationally symmetric. And that means this is where these are going to be placed, somewhat. So now we can just look at it and say, okay, what are the options for making a straight rail? Cool, that's a straight rail. And actually, I'm going to be using this as a template, and then figuring out other places we can build this part. Here, there's one here, and there's another one here, and another one here, and yeah, we just need somewhere where there's plenty of room for it. Right, so this one can then be made. We can take this and say, okay, we're going to make this into a straight line. Then that's simple. Then we have another one here that is going to be made into a curve. And it's a little bit more complicated. We'll take these out and then make the curve up here. And then figure out how to do this turn. I think the deal is that I want to make it like this and get a train. This just needs to be curved as far as possible, and then the other side curved as far as possible, and then we take that one out and we take that one out, and then this one will be the premise here and here, and then we just need to remove the extras here. There must be an extra. Yeah. There we go. Easy. And of course also signals here. Signal, signal. And does this rotate? Yes, it does. Good. So we now have straight line. That then comes the more difficult one, and that is going to be the intersection, the T intersection. So we'll start with this, and then we might actually just take this one on top and then just kind of see what happens. Yeah, so there's going to be an issue in here with regards to where they are going to be placed. Here, I think this is actually exactly what we want. Let's try and copy this and flip it and then see. Yes. Then the only thing missing is this. There. We have now an intersection. These two are next to each other. These two are next to each other, are right above each other, like that. And this one is above that, and then we have this intersection. There are a lot of pillars in here, but that's necessary. And then it's just a matter of signaling it correctly. There we go. So that's also correctly signaled. And then we now have the 3 locations. So what that means is that I can take this one. So now we have our station. I've just put in a dummy train here that will just constantly unload. It can easily unload fast enough, and we now have sort of the ability to have 1, 2, 3 trains waiting while one is unloading. So we can have quite a lot here, and that means we can set this one up to sort of get a priority of 4, so that everything is just, they're coming back here. The only thing you're going to be transporting on this this planet, yeah, almost the only thing is just going out and getting scrap. So we now have the blueprints. We also, of course, need to get the research, the pillar research. Damn, where is that? It's also under here. So this is kind of kind of something that one, this is needed for us to make the train stations, but once we have them, then we can make it out here and we can just go like, okay, so go here and get the station like this and maybe go there and then get that one. You know, now we can make the train station as we want, and this one can also just be connected. There we go. We have now this, and then it goes up and goes in, and then whatever we want to make the train network, whatever you want, so that you can go out and, for example, get out here. Now this location, we just need one more thing, and that is how are we going to get these small locations that have large number. This is 25 million, so we'd really like to get this. So how do we get this done in a meaningful way? Well, I would say I think it is worthwhile for us to try to use a direct insertion, because that might actually be very valuable here. So let's try that and see how that works. This, shoot, it just needs some protection as well. We'll make some of these here. Good. It still protects even though it's not connected. So what does this mean? This means that we can actually build a mining location and that one, and I want it to be 3 apart so that I can put a beacon right there, right? And you're going to be beaconized and you're going to be here and that one, yeah? And of course it's not going to get anything yet. We could put more in here, but I think I'll try to just lower the cost of this, flip it on the other side, go down here as well. Let's see how far it can actually reach. Okay, I think this is the right place, and maybe even getting these ones a little closer. There, because I want it to be this in the middle of this area. So that is enough. Then we will basically be saying, okay, we of course need some power for this. And let me see, that one is not needed, and from here it's also not needed. Oh wait, that's maybe a little bit too close. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not correct. Deconstruct straight rails. Funny how that. Okay, there we go. Let's see. There. So this one is not necessary. Yes. And we can then make a ramp up, and we can make a ramp up, and that's basically going to be the setup for this. And then you can merge that into these lines if you, however you like. But this is a pretty good build for setting it up. If we get it with some power, because what we then need to do is just make some accumulators. And there. Because that then we can actually use the small islands for something. There. And we do the same thing on this side as well. There we go. So that should be... Here we go. This is a pretty good build for these small islands that taps the 25 million. It's not the optimal use of the space, but it's a pretty good simple thing to put down here, and then you can actually have it go down. So, right, that was a little bit of a deep dive into how to do this setup, and I'm really happy with this setup. I think that these, like, first of all, the recycling setup works really well. The storage setup works really well. The tying in with this part to minimize the amount so that we get full throughput here is super amazing. You can actually see this is not stuttering at all, so we are consuming everything right now. Well, it's also because I've opened the boxes, so they are now flowing. So as always, these blueprints are available to patron supporters. So if you are a patron supporter and want to work with this blueprint design, then and these small city blocks, then you can just grab them, and there will be the smelter, this recycler, there'll be the storage, there'll be this the station and the other station, and then of course the rail modules will all be part of the blueprint package. And if not, well, we designed it on camera, and then you can just pause the video and just look at it yourself to get inspired and improve the designs as you see fit. But I'm really happy with these designs, and they work all the way up until we insist on wanting to do quality here, or if we get to stacking, then it's not going to work for stacking. But until then, which is going to be all what we need for a very long time, this works. And you can also just easily just stamp down another one if you have room for it, or if you want to make separate factories, then you can also just get this on a separate island. I've designed it such that these 3 modules here are right next to each other, so you could sort of just build it up here if you want to, and then move the rest of it somewhere else if you want to get to scale up on this planet. But I think this is enough to keep the hub going, and enough for us to go do the science, which we're going to be doing in the next episode. Of course, right now I have assumed that we have researched the pillars, this one, but that was to show you this part out here, but we haven't researched it yet, and that's something we put down in the next episode. So it's going to be a little bit back and forth. In the beginning, I would also just use whatever resources I have here on the same island, which is more than enough to keep this going for a while, but I wanted to sort of do the whole process from mining to unloading to scrapping to storage, and then we have the hub, and then we do the science next time. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know in the comment section if there's something I'm missing, if there's some good ideas for what I should do and could do instead, and or some bad ideas for that matter. And then I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care and stay effective.